Welcome to the More Love Connection podcast. This is your host, Jenard D. Moore. Before we start the show, we officially want to invite you to become a Patreon for the More Love Connection podcast. If you don't know what Patreon is just a way to support your favorite podcasters or content creators. For just as little as $1 a month, you can officially support the More Love Connection podcast. If you're interested, we'd love to have you as an official More Love Nation supporter. So go over to www.patreon.com/MLCXN. Again, that's www.patreon.com/MLCXN. If you become an official supporter, you'll get access to behind the scenes content. You'll get access to guests. You'll be able to know who the guests are before we even announce on social media, and a plethora of other things. So think about becoming a More Love Connection podcast supporter. We'd be honored to have you as an official supporter. Again, that's www.patreon.com/MLCXN. For just as low as $1 a month, you can officially support the podcast. Now, let's jump right over to the episode. Welcome back, More Love Nation. Today we have a very, very special guest. I am so excited because I know you all are going to be in for a treat. So as always, make sure you have your pens and your paper out. Take notes. Make sure you all show some love. But before we do that, if you have not done so, make sure you go and follow the More Love Connection podcast. We are on YouTube. Check us out. Go search for More Love Connection. As always, make sure you hit the subscribe button on your favorite podcasting platform. We're currently on 85 different podcasting platforms. So search your favorite podcasting platform for More Love Connection. And make sure you go over to Instagram and Twitter. Show us some love. Follow us at More Love CXN on both Instagram and Twitter. As y'all know, last week was my birthday. So we didn't record an episode. But again, like I said, you all are in for a treat. And it is about to be an amazing episode. So with that, let me go ahead and just jump right over to our guest. Let me say this before I bring our guest on. I actually connected with her on Clubhouse. So if you have not, got on Clubhouse yet, make sure you go over to Clubhouse if you have an iPhone, but you only have to have an iPhone. If you have an Android, I'm sorry, I feel bad for you. Those things are like bricks. So make sure you go and get you an iPhone so you can connect with people all over the world on Clubhouse. So with that being said, our next guest is an amazing person. Like I said, I met her on Clubhouse, connected with her. She is a relationship mentor slash coach. She is also known as the relationship mentor. She has a passion for teaching millennial and Gen Z women how to prepare for healthy engagements and marriage. Not only does she help women prepare for marriage, but she helps them adjust for life after those two magic words, which y'all know, I do. And that's when the real work starts, after you say, I do. She is married millennial, mom of two, and she is the host of the Matters of the Heart podcast. More Love Nation, won't y'all help me? Please welcome Miss Melissa T. Walker to the More Love Connection podcast.
Hey guys, hi.
Hey, what's going on, Melissa?
Hey, thank you for having me, Jenard. I really appreciate it. I've been a follower of this platform for a little while, and you and Destiny, you guys are spitting out some gems, man.
Man, hey, look, we try. So we definitely appreciate that. But before we go any further, Melissa, More Love Nation, make sure y'all go over to Instagram, follow Melissa at Melissa T. Walker _. That's one L. Melissa, I always want to spell your name with two L's. I don't know why. It's
one
a habit. Yeah, so Melissa with one L, T. Walker _. Also, check out her website, www.melissatwalker.com. So again, Melissa, welcome to the show. How are you today?
Thank you so much, Jenard. I am doing pretty well. I'm excited to be here. I love to chat about everything marriage and everything relationships. So I'm looking forward to see, what this is going to be all about, what's going to unfold, so to
Okay.
speak.
All right. So prior to us hitting record, we were just talking. So let's just jump right into the conversation. Let's start with y'all. She eloped and got married. She went just jumping right into it. So Melissa is a married millennial. We were just talking. Melissa, just tell us about that experience. How was that experience for you?
So for me to kind of take it all the way back, I am a product of a broken marriage. And my parents are, let me just put it back. I was raised in a Pentecostal church. And I'm sure being a Pentecostal, it was very structured. There were expectations. You were always supposed to be, deep with your relationship with God. You're supposed to be great with your family. You're supposed to, exhibit all the fruits of the spirit, all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
The thing is, my parents were putting on a facade, and that's me. That's what I'm saying. They may not agree with that, but it was a facade. They in the public looked as though they were doing everything they were supposed to. They were being true examples of what Christians were supposed to be. But behind closed doors, it was a complete opposite. To this day, I could tell people in all the years, and I lived in my parents' home, or at least with my father until I was 19. I've never seen my father pray. I've never seen him read his Bible. I've never seen him have devotion with us. Whereas my mom, she would try to do it, but as kids, my brother and I, we would see our father laying across the bed sleeping, and it's like, well, if he can sleep, why we can't sleep? Like, I don't want to do this. So after a while, she kind of gave up, and it wasn't until I became an adult, just looking over my life, I'm like, oh my gosh, their relationship was so fractured, not only with God, but with each other. I've never seen my parents kiss. I've never seen my parents truly embrace each other. I would see maybe one try to hug the other and the other trying to push the other one off. Like it was never love. I've never seen that compassion. It was always arguing, fighting, everybody trying to like, it was the opposite of what I believe a marriage should look like. It was opposite from what the Bible talks about a marriage should look like. And from a young age, I decided, like, Melissa, this is not what I want for myself. I want to have a happy marriage. I want to have a true marriage. But I realized that, especially as a young woman growing up in the church, the expectation was you would court someone, and it would kind of be done in secret. You'd go through your premarital classes, and one Sunday morning, once you complete all of that, the pastor would call you up on the stage and announce to the whole church that you guys are going to get married. And it would be a big hoopla, and everybody's happy for you. Everybody wants to be in your wedding. Everybody wants to tell you what to do. And within 3 to 6 months later, the expectation is that you would get married. So there was no long engagements, no long waiting periods. It was like, okay, you're engaged now. You should start planning your wedding like now. You shouldn't be engaged for more than 6 months.
Wow.
It wasn't like a rule. It was kind of unspoken.
It's unspoken rule,
yeah. Yeah. So when I look back now, I look at all my friends and even other people who got married. That's kind of what it was. They got engaged, and within a few months they were married. And of course, for me, I kind of wanted that because that's all I ever saw. But because of issues that I had with my parents, and of course now I'm in a different place, but back then I ended up leaving the church altogether. I was like, I'm done with this crap. I don't want no part of this. God, he don't love me. He don't really care. Like look at all the crap he allowed these people to do to me. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I really had a disdain for God. And throughout my journey of, I call it the journey of going through the wilderness. I was able to reconnect with God on a deeper level. And at this point, I realized that denomination meant nothing. And I was going to be purpose with my intentions as it pertained to me being a child of God and beginning the preparation for becoming the wife that I knew he wanted me to be. So fast forward, I was in a relationship that I thought was going to lead to marriage. We were together for about almost 4 years. I had my first son with that person. And I believe like, okay, the only thing left for us to do is, get married. Like we've done everything else,
Right.
We were intertwined, literally, physically, spiritually, we were intertwined. And I felt like, okay, that's the next step.
Mm-hmm.
And there were some clues that I saw around the house that kind of led me to believe that he was going to propose. Like he, bought a ring. Well, I thought he bought a ring. I saw the statement from K Jewelers and I just assumed he bought a ring. So I was expecting to get it. And within that last year of our relationship, the ring never showed up.
Wow.
And I remember maybe a few days after my son's 3rd birthday, he comes to me, sits me down, and tells me that he has been dealing with his ex, and they're gonna get back together.
Wow.
All while still living in the house with me. He didn't want to leave. That's another story.
Wow. Let me ask you this really quick. Do you watch Married at First Sight?
Oh, that's my show. I live tweet every Wednesday at 8 o'clock.
Yeah, I do too. So when you said that, it literally reminded me of the scenario that's going on right now with, and so we'll get to that because I know for a lot of people that situation is triggering, but gosh. I'm sorry, but I had to, because that reminded me of, that it's triggering for me too. So
oh my goodness.
I'm sorry, you go ahead.
Oh no. So I guess after he decided he wanted to go his separate ways, I decided, okay, now is the time for me to go out there and find my husband. Like, I'm getting older, I need to have my kids by a certain time. I need to get married. Long story short, I dated briefly 3 young men after my son's father and I went our separate ways. And every last one of them left me for their ex. Every last one. And I'm like, okay, God, it's either something is wrong with me or you're really trying to tell me something.
Yeah.
And after that 3rd young man decided he was going back to his ex, actually, I caught him in a lie. And anyway, that's not, you know what? Let's say I've kissed a lot of frogs.
Yeah.
So I decided after all of that, it's like, you know what? It's time to focus on me. I need to be content in who I am as a single woman and accept the fact that there's a possibility that I may never get married. And I think that's something that some women, they don't want to hear. Marriage, even though it looks great on the outside, it really isn't for everybody. Some people jump into it and they realize it's not what they expected it to be and they end up divorced. So for me, I wanted to just focus on me, focus on my son. That's it. I was not giving a dude the time of day. I would look at you talking to me and look right through you. I don't want to talk to you. I'm not interested. Let's keep it moving.
Right.
And I remember I was working in corporate America. I was in New York at the time. And I was having a really rough day. I worked in human resources. I was having a really tough day. And I decided, I'm going to blow off some steam. I always go and chat with the receptionist. And, I'm that type of person. I treat the janitor the same way I treat the CEO. So I talk to everybody. Yeah. So whenever they can't find me, they know I'm talking to the receptionist. I'm talking to one of the janitors. I'm talking to somebody. So I'm here talking to the receptionist. And in the suite that our building was in Manhattan, you'd have to swipe your badge to kind of get into our suite. And every time someone swiped their badge, you would hear a beep. So I heard the beep. I heard a beep. And natural instinct, I turned to look over my shoulder to see who it was. Never seen this person in my life. Don't know him from a can of paint. And jokingly, I turned to the receptionist. I was like, oh, who's that? He's kind of cute. But I said it as a joke. Okay. I was just like, oh yeah, he's good looking, whatever. And the receptionist was like, oh my gosh, you don't know him? Yeah, he's been working here a long time. Like, let me introduce you. And he's Jamaican just like you. So instantly, whenever I see my Jamaican people, I'm like, yo, I won.
It just come out, huh?
It just comes right out. So the receptionist introduced us, and he was kind of like, yeah, Melissa's Jamaican. And I'm like, okay, what part of Jamaica you from? And he was like, you see, well, I'm not really Jamaican. My parents, they from Jamaica, but I was born. And I look at him and I was like,
oh, you fake. You fake. You fake.
And I start going in on him, and he's looking at me like, who is this lady? And why is she doing this? So he actually worked in one of our other buildings, and he actually had resigned, and he was coming to pretty much say his goodbyes. So he believed that the company wasn't doing right by him financially. And The receptionist said to him, "Oh, but Melissa works in HR. She could check it out and see if they're dripping you, like if they're, taking advantage of you." The minute the receptionist says HR, he clams up and he was like, "Oh, I don't know."
Yeah.
So he's like, the receptionist is like, she's cool. She's cool. I promise you, she's cool. I was like, "Yo, I got you. I got you. Just let me know what you want to do." Like,
yeah.
So reluctantly, he gave me his information. We chatted for a little bit and we went our separate ways. I went back to my office, did some research, and I realized that they were, in fact, dripping him. And I texted him. I was like, "Yeah, you're doing the right thing. Go. You're not doing right by you here or whatever." Didn't hear from him for a few days. Didn't think anything of it. I was just like, okay, that's a friend. Now, during this time, I'm in the process of relocating to Florida.
Oh, wow.
I had decided that New York was no longer for me. I wanted a fresh start. I wanted to start over. And that was October of 2017. I decided, this is it. I'm done. I'm going to Florida. Out of the blue, he starts texting, checking up on me, how's the move going, all this stuff. Again, I'm not thinking anything of it, so I'm telling him some of the stuff I'm trying to get rid of and how it's not working. And, I can't get rid of certain things. And I remember one day he was like, "Oh, send me a picture of your coffee table set, that you're trying to get rid of." And I sent it to him and he was like, "Oh, I like this. How much are you selling it for?" So I was like, "I'm selling it for $150." So he's like, "How about $120 and I'll take you to lunch?"
Uh-oh. Okay.
I was like, "Look here, sir."
I'm getting ready to leave. I ain't got time.
But knowing me, my best friend and I, we kind of had a pact from we were teenagers. Never turn down free food. So I'm like, all right, cool. But let's do dinner instead because my job is tedious. I'm not gonna be able to give you the attention that I think you deserve respectfully. So let's just do dinner instead. He thought that I was trying to come on to him by saying dinner. I was like, "No, sir. Like I was really
I'm
busy.
trying to get this free meal. Look.
I just need this full course dinner, okay?" So we end up going to dinner that a few nights after, and we're chatting. He took me to this very nice Italian restaurant in Manhattan, and I thought, like, yo, this dude, he knows what he's doing. Like, I like this. Food was trash, complete rubbish, garbage, no seasoning, no nothing. It was garbage.
Lord.
It was a thought that counted, though. I still give him, A for effort for that one. We ended up sitting in that restaurant and overall spending the night in Manhattan just chatting. We ended up leaving that restaurant, going to a dessert place in Chinatown. And then we from there left and went to Penn Station. And we pretty much sat in Penn Station until 5 o'clock the next morning.
Oh, man.
Just chatting. It was effortless. We were just talking. Come to find out, his cousin and I grew up together in the same church back in Jamaica. And I just has a funny sense of humor. In the summertime, my parents used to send me to New York from Jamaica to spend time with our family. And his parents used to send him to Jamaica to spend time with his family. So we used to always miss each other.
This is like a movie right here.
I'm telling you, like, I have a funny sense of humor, man.
That's like a movie. So let me ask you this. So you said something, and I kind of want to go down this path. You said after you dated those three people, you were on this path to kind of just finding yourself. So with you being a relationship coach, do you feel like, and have you seen where females jump into relationships and they don't really know themselves?
Absolutely. Unfortunately, because of the times we live in with social media, you find that we want to live up to the hype of what relationship goals look like. We hear that term so much. Like, I'm surprised it's not banned on Instagram yet, that hashtag. But you find that a lot of young women want to have what they see on social media. But what they don't know is anybody can smile for a picture. Anybody can pose and do a couple moves for a video. But once that camera shuts off, once that flash is gone, you don't know what's going on behind closed doors. A lot of women are in toxic relationships and they tolerate it to keep up with the Joneses. They tolerate it because of what that partner brings to the marriage, whether it's finances, whether it's looks, whatever, and I discourage that wholeheartedly because at the end of the day, you can look good for everybody, but you're going to be the one that's unhappy. So I discourage that completely.
I got caught on mute. I'm sorry. I was just talking. I wholeheartedly agree. And I was on a podcast last week, and that's one of the things that we kind of talked about was especially for millennials, kind of trying to keep up, trying to make sure you post, trying to you got that side. I ain't gonna say side piece. You got that person that's gonna make you look good, and y'all posing for the cameras, and it's just like, where's the substance to it? And
Yeah. Yeah.
like a lot of times people look to the other person to make them happy, and
Mm.
you don't even know, like, okay, I like going to the movies by myself. So if
Mhm.
you don't know certain things about yourself, then you'll look to somebody else to try to fulfill you and make you happy. And then when they don't live up to your expectations, you ready to run.
Yep. That was a big thing too for me, getting to learn and know myself in my singleness. I didn't really know myself because since I was a teenager, I've always had a boyfriend.
Mm,
So it was kind of like, okay, Melissa, what do you do now? Like, you're by yourself. I figured out that I like my quiet time. I like
mhm,
reading. I like going out and watching movies. Like, I would treat myself. I'd literally walk into a seafood joint and just eat by myself. Like, I realized that I loved me. I
mhm.
realized that I was giving my energy and my love to people who didn't value it. And it was important for me to get to that place of contentment because I believe that if I was still broken and I had met my husband, we would have probably gotten married, but we probably would have been divorced already.
Right, because you
Yeah.
wouldn't have been, and I feel like that too. Especially being in previous relationships. Had I got married too early, I wouldn't have cherished my wife, and I wouldn't have cherished the relationship.
Yes.
But I went through those things in different relationships just to kind of figure out who I was. I'm not gonna say kind of figure out, but it allowed me to figure out, the things that I like, the things I want to tolerate, So I was able to figure
Mhm.
out me, from those broken relationships, and from just embracing my singleness. Uh, so with that, Melissa, we're going to take a quick break. More Love Nation. We'll be right back with you with more of the More Love Connection podcast. This is an amazing episode, and I have a couple more questions for Melissa. So we'll be right back with you. Hey, More Love Nation. If you all are enjoying this episode, stop what you're doing. Make sure you hit that like button. Also, go down into the comments if you're watching this on YouTube. Leave us a comment. If you're listening to this on your favorite podcasting platform, make sure you take a screenshot of you listening to the episode, head over to your Instagram, upload it to your IG stories, and tag at More Love CXN. Once we see the notification, we'll share it with our audience. Also, make sure if you're listening on your favorite podcasting platform to leave a 5-star rating and a review. Reviews help new listeners find the More Love Connection podcast. So stop what you're doing, take the screenshot, leave a comment, just show some love. Another way that you can show us some love is by going to check out our website. Go to www.morelovecxn.com. Check out the merch tab. We have some sweatshirts, some hoodies. Go over and check out our merch tab. Also, for low as $1 a month, you can become an official supporter of the More Love Connection podcast. All you have to simply do is go to www.patreon.com/MLCXN. If you have not done so, make sure you subscribe to the podcast, subscribe to the YouTube, share it with your friends and your family. Again, that's the More Love Connection podcast. You know you like it. Go ahead and share it. Now, let's get right back to the episode. All right, More Love Nation. Welcome back from those commercial breaks. If you have not, make sure you all go and follow Melissa. This is an amazing episode. Follow Melissa over on Instagram at Melissa T Walker _ That is 1L. Also, check out her podcast, Matters of the Heart podcast. So let's jump right on back into the episode and get Melissa back on in here. So, Melissa, we talked about you eloping. We talked about, just how individuals need to embrace their singleness and just, embrace themselves and learn about themselves. So, tell us a little bit. Why did you start the relationship mentor? Because, let me preface this by saying I saw you just posted that you just started your IG for the relationship mentor back in, I think, September,
Yeah.
and now you've already crossed, that 1K mark. So tell us a little bit why you started that and what have you learned since starting that page?
Well, since I was a kid, really, I was always in love with love. so to speak. I was a columnist in my school's newspaper, always giving some kind of relationship advice. Even to this day, I would always have friends reach out to me saying, "Oh, Melissa, this is what happened. What should I do? Whatever." So, being that I became passionate about that, I wanted to kind of take that live stream. I wanted to be able to impact a lot more women on a larger scale.
Mm-hmm.
So officially, because I've been doing this on and off for maybe a year or so, in between my corporate job.
Mm-hmm.
So officially, last September, I decided to go live, like social media, branding, all that stuff. And at this point, as you said, I'm over that 1,000 mark, which to me is impressive. It's all organic, no ads, no nothing. I was just posting real, true things that people could relate to, and
Mm-hmm.
they seem to gravitate to it.
Right.
I've been told that I've been able to impact so many people's lives. So the purpose of me really starting this platform was to show women, like explain and teach women the things that no one really taught me. Like I used to assume that once we got married, we'd be happy, everything would be great, we'd always love each other, we'd always like each other, we'd have sex all the time, it would be heaven. And that was not the reality at all. And it put me in a place in the first year of our marriage. It had me wondering, wait a minute, is something wrong with me? Did I do something wrong? Does this mean we're going to divorce? Like, is something wrong? But it was a natural progression of our relationship. It was the fact that um, we're human. We're two separate people trying to come together to live one life, build one goal, go towards one goal. And I was in a place where I was unwilling to compromise because I just assumed we got married. You do what I say, like you see on TV. You do what I say, and you have a happy life. And that's just not what it was.
Yeah.
My husband is, even though he's pretty laid back, he's that type of person where when he gets to that point where he can't take it no more, everybody gonna hear it, okay? And he ended up getting to that point where he was so frustrated he couldn't handle it anymore. He was tolerating it for so long. And I remember one night we were in bed and we were having a big argument, like we're trying to like solve the problem, but I didn't realize I was just pouring gasoline on it. And my
Mm-hmm.
husband got so mad, he got up out the bed and he's walking out the room and he punched the wall. He punched the wall so hard he knocked out the electricity in that entire side of the house. And I was like,
You done
okay,
made
wait a
that. You done
minute.
made that Jamaican man mad. Look.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, maybe I need to reevaluate this. And slowly from there, I started realizing that marriage really is compromise. Marriage is not do as I say, like you see on some of these television shows. It's a lot of compromise. So that was one of the things I wanted to teach women. Like, hey, it's not just about you. It's about you and him together working towards that goal that you both set. It's
Mm-hmm.
not your show, it's not his. So it was birthed out of that. And the intent is to continue educating young women and teaching them and showing them what to expect after they say I do. To kind of like throw a caveat in there, I had someone approach me once and they're like, how can you teach anybody about marriage? You've only been married for a hot second. Mm. It
Look.
hit a nerve. It hit a nerve because while I understand that I have not been married for decades or generations, I do understand that one thing is the same.
Yeah.
Most people, once they get married, are thrust into something that they were not educated about. So my goal is not to teach you what to expect when you hit that 30-year anniversary. I'm not there. I can't tell you about that. But in the same breath, I can tell you about what my experience was when I just got married, and I can help you navigate and even make some changes in your life to make you a better person, which in the end will make you a better wife.
And that's so amazing that you just said that because that's one of the struggles that I had with Destiny and I before we started the podcast was just like, are people really going to value our experience and what we have to say on the podcast? Because when we started this, we've been podcasting now for I think 3 or 4 years. I can't remember. It's been a long time, but I think we were only had been married for like a year, maybe a year and a half. But it was like, are people really going to listen to us, what we got to say? But what I've quickly learned was we are an expert at our own experiences.
Yes.
And, and so just being transparent about the most minute things that we went through was helping other people. There's always somebody that just got married. There's always a newlywed.
Yes.
and just being transparent, even if we are or were a year in, there's some things that we experience that, hey, as newlyweds, we experienced this. This is how we overcame this. This is some tips that we use to overcome this. So you never know who you're helping. So I say that to say, if you're listening to this, you're an expert at your experiences. Start that business. Start that podcast.
Yes.
Don't wait. There's somebody out there that needs to hear your voice. And so with that, Melissa, you know, the people that you are mentoring, because you are the relationship mentor. I see you have courses and everything. What is one common theme, especially amongst the millennial women, that you see? Like, we need to expose this, and I say expose, it just mean talk about it. But like, what's one common theme that you see from the people that you mentor?
Pretty much what I just said about being themselves. Well, not, I wouldn't say being themselves, but thinking that marriage is just about what they want.
Hmm.
A lot of the times, us women, and I'm speaking for us women, some of the times we tend to forget that we're in a partnership and that we're doing this together. I remember maybe sometime last year, I made a post about instead of yelling at a man and getting frustrated with him, why not teach him and tell him, what it is that you like, what it is that you love, because he's not a mind reader. He doesn't know what's going on in your head. And I got so much backlash. Oh no, I'm
Hmm.
not teaching him nothing. I'm not his mama. If I got to teach him, then we're not supposed to be together. And everybody's walking into this blindly thinking that, oh, this is what it's supposed to be. And of course, I blame television and social media for all that stuff, because that's kind of what the movies teach us.
Right.
We grew up on watching Disney movies where they talk about falling in love and living happily ever after. Rubbish. Like, that's not reality. That's not
Right.
reality. So
Right.
with a lot of the clients that I see, it's like breaking them out of that mold. They want to come
Hmm.
and say, oh, my husband, he's the problem. He's this, he's that. And granted, there's some situations where the husband is the problem, but a lot of the times it's us and it's our mindset. We don't want to change. We want him to meet us where we're at. And we have to understand that sometimes, I don't want to say men, but people in general, they just don't have the capacity to think the way you would think. Like, I would say common sense is not common to everyone. What I would
Yeah.
look at and say, oh, that's second nature. Someone else might look at that and say, oh, snap, I never thought of it that way.
Right.
So that's the biggest thing I would say I've seen so far with my clients.
That's I mean, like, really, really good. We had Beth McCord on. I don't know if you're familiar with the Enneagram, but it's just
I've heard
almost like a personality test.
that. Mhm.
But we had her on, and she coined the term assumicide, and she talked about it in one of her books. But basically, assumicide is the very same thing you just explained, where you assume that somebody should respond the way that you would respond. And if you don't teach your spouse or significant other, hey, if I say this, I would like for you to respond this way, and vice versa. Hey, you said something to me, and this is how it made me feel. Maybe next time, can you tone it down or say it in a different way? So you're setting your expectations, and you're giving the person a blueprint to basically how they should interact with you.
Mhm.
And I'm just being transparent, and I'm early on and even now, that's something that Destiny and I that we still work on is, in my mind, I'm always right. I mean, there's very, very few little times where, I'm wrong. And in my mind, I'm just, I can do no wrong. But I'm just joking in that sense. But, my perspective is my perspective.
Right.
And it is extremely hard when your spouse has a different perspective and they want you to see their perspective.
Right.
And just going back to the conversation where you said your husband punched the wall and, knocked the power out, you know, the underlying issue in that is communication,
Yes.
and
Come on
it's
now.
communication and listening with the intent to understand. And I've been in that situation from both ends, being the person where the other person is just talking and then they're trying to get their point across, and you're like, okay, I done heard enough now. Leave me alone now. And then I've also been the person that is doing the talking, and the person that is always doing the talking is like, I want you to see my perspective,
Right.
and I want you to agree with my perspective. And
Right.
when you don't agree with my perspective, that's when all hell break loose.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, can you talk a little bit about communication? And again, I know it's kind of being redundant, but
No.
can you talk to the fact about communication? Do you ever talk to your mentees or your clients like, hey, maybe you can say something a little bit differently, or you can do this? So, can you talk about communication in marriage?
For me, and I love communication so much. Um, I strongly believe that communication impacts everything that we do. If there's anything to deal with your kids, your finances, the commitment you guys decide to make to each other, um, the type of person you are, communication dwells in all of that. You can't do anything without communication. So I encourage my clients to really take a step back and evaluate themselves. Look at how you speak, the things you say, the words you use, and look at your partner. Look at what's a trigger. Look
Mm,
at what may cause an offense, and a lot of the times we go in it blindly, like, well, I don't think I said nothing wrong, I don't think I did nothing wrong. We are not being honest with ourselves. Like, put your feet in his shoes. If
right.
somebody spoke to you the way you spoke to him, how would you take that? Oh no, he could never talk to me like that. Oh,
Yeah.
oh, wait a minute. If you wouldn't allow somebody to speak to you like that, why is it okay for you to speak to him like that? you
Mm,
know
that's
So
good.
communication plays a big part. For me, I would say communication was a huge issue for me because I'm that type of person where if we're talking and you say something I don't agree with, I want to address it right there, right there. I want to tell you what I think. No, you wrong, you wrong, you wrong. And it's always from the essence of I need to be right. I need to be right.
Yeah.
And also from the essence that if I don't tell you now, I'm gonna forget what I need to say, and the moment's gonna pass and I'm not gonna win. Yeah, I said that
Mm.
W word, win.
Yeah.
I don't know why we think that it's about winning and losing. Like,
Right. Right.
so one thing I encourage my clients to do: take notes. Take notes. Um, it's important for you to show your partner, your husband, your wife, that you are fully present in the communication. You want to let them know, look, I value what you're saying. I may not agree, but I want you to say what you need to say without cutting you off. So I need to make some notes just so we can address it once you're done.
Mm.
Try not to cut your partner off. I have such a bad habit to this day. I'm working on it, y'all. I'm working on it. Like, the moment my husband paused to take a breath, I jump
you
in and I'm like, I'm saying what I need to say. And he's like, yo, you just gonna cut me off? And I'm like, I thought you was done. I didn't know, so I'm learning to like give him that space. But communication, to be honest, without that, your marriage is not going to work. And I'm just going to be straight up, like, real with you. Like, your marriage cannot work without communication at all. Period.
Man, that I'm telling you, Melissa, I'm the same way. It's like I got to get my point out.
Yep.
And if I don't, I'm gonna forget it. And the reality of it is when you take time and to kind of just decompress, you have better sense of what you actually want to say, because in the heat of the moment you might say something that is offensive, you might say something that's hurtful, and
Yeah.
then you gotta go back and, oh, I apologize. And
Mm-hmm.
yes, you apologize, but what you said could have stung that person. It could have hurt them to their core, and so it's like, if I would have just held my tongue
Yeah.
and just being quiet, now I ain't got to go back and apologize.
Yeah.
But I had a guest on, Dana Shea. I don't know if you know Dana. I
I
met
know
her
that.
on,
I know that
yeah,
name.
met Dana on Club. I be meeting all these people on
Oh,
Clubhouse.
Clubhouse.
I'm
Yeah.
telling you, if y'all listen to this and you don't have an iPhone by now and you don't have Clubhouse, you are missing out. Go get an iPhone. Throw that Android in the water.
That brick.
Yeah. But Dana said something that her and her husband did. She said they got married at the age of 18 and I think 20. So they were extremely young.
Mhm.
And so one of the things that they would do, because they just had two different communication styles, was they would leave a notebook on the bed. And when the other person came in the room and they saw the notebook on the bed, that meant the other spouse had wrote them a dissertation and let them know how they feel, you know. And so that allowed them to get their feelings out on paper
Mhm.
without physically saying it. You letting the other person read it, and then they can respond, put the pen to paper and they can respond. But Melissa, I'm telling you, if me and Destiny did that,
You'd have volumes of
Look,
notebooks,
we
right?
probably be done wrote a book because I'll be
Yep.
going in and really when you go back and look at the entries, if we did that, it'll probably be mostly me writing stuff in there and her response will be like, okay, I hear you or something, and I'll say this. That makes me so mad
Mm-hmm.
because I'm just
Yep.
like, I done said all this stuff.
And all you had to say is
Yeah,
2 words.
I'm like,
Yeah, we've
I'm like,
had
oh,
we've had disagreements about that too.
I'm like, force something, say something, make something up,
Yeah.
match my energy, make something up. But
Oh Lord, we
she'd be
go through
so
that all
calm.
the time over here too.
Yeah. And as y'all, if you listening to this, I mean, we're joking about it, but that's what happens in marriage. I mean,
Yeah.
it's real. That's what happens
Yeah.
in marriage. I'm an advocate for transparency, like yourself. And just even in that instance, talking about the different communication style, the W word that you said, when, I feel like a lot of times for especially millennial people, especially millennial marriages, we want to see the real. We wanted to see the real. If you didn't, and it's like we need to know the real. We need to know like what we getting into because
Yeah.
once we get into it, and it's our expectations are here, and it's like, well, why are we down here?
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
I'm an advocate for transparency. I'm an advocate
Mhm.
for enlightening people. Like again,
Mhm.
like I said, this is what we went through. This is how we overcame it. You
Yep.
may use the tools that we use, but just being able to talk about stuff. So with that, Melissa, one more question for you before I let you go. I definitely appreciate you coming on.
Of course.
But again, like I said, you are the relationship mentor. So one piece of advice that you would give to a listener.
Hmm. I would say be open to change because the person who you married, well, whenever you guys got married, is not going to be the same person 2 years from now, 4 years from now, or even a few months from now. It doesn't mean that they're bad or they're getting bad, and it doesn't mean they're getting better. It just means that they're changing,
Hmm.
and you have to determine whether or not um, this is for you in the sense that are you going to adjust? Are you going to go with the flow? Or are you just going to make it difficult and, eventually cause the marriage to go astray? And it's the same for you as the individual. You're going to change as well. So just be open to embracing that and allowing that change to help form and mold your marriage.
That's really good. And I always do this every time I ask that question. I ask a question similar to that. Like the person responds, and my mind just go like, "Oh my god, that is so good. Let's go here." But really quick, I mean, to that point, I'm learning that like Destiny has changed so much since we got married. I've
Mhm.
changed so much since we got married, and we're starting to learn now. Like, hey, we need to continually reconnect because adding kids
Mhm.
into the mix,
Yeah.
it is so easy for the spouse to kind of be put on the back burner,
Yes.
if you will. And it's like both of you are we're focused on the kids, we're focused on work, you're focused on bills, you're focused on taking care of the house, and it's like sometimes you can forget about the
Yeah.
person that you fell in love with.
Mhm.
So my birthday was last weekend. We got to get away. My in-laws kept Madison, and it was just, I mean, like really good for us to just reconnect. We went out to eat, we hung out, and it was just like, man, I forgot we used to do this all the time,
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
so to that point, it is good for you and your spouse to just continue to find ways to connect with one another, find ways to continually fall in love,
Yeah.
over and over again. So with that, Melissa, again, like I said, I definitely appreciate you being on the show.
Absolutely.
So more love, nation. As I said, make sure you all go and follow Melissa over at Melissa T Walker _1L. Also, make sure you go and check out her podcast, Matters of the Heart podcast. As always, More Love Nation has been a amazing episode. As I stated in the intro, as I stated in the commercial, for little as $1 a month, if you enjoy this content, if you found anything that you liked from this content, go over to our Patreon page, become a monthly supporter of the More Love Connection podcast. You'll get access to behind the scenes content. You'll also be notified of guests prior to announcing them on social media. You'll get exclusive content over on Patreon. So check out our Patreon page. www.patreon.com/MLCXN. Holla at a player when you see him in the street.